us right now from some location somewhere around the world. Mike from around the world.
Pastor Paul, God bless you, brother.
How are we doing? How you doing tonight, Mike?
Very good.
Wow, Mike, I'm just excited to be with you again. You know, I missed out mainly last week because I was in revival, but Heidi stepped in, did a great job. And Mike, you don't even want to know how many emails I got saying, Paul, she was awesome because she doesn't interrupt Mike.
She didn't let me get off the subject either.
She's good at circling back. Oh, all right, Mike. Well, hey, we titled this broadcast Apocalypse Now. There's a couple things that I know we want to ask you about tonight for sure. The time of the harvest and also time anomalies and things like that. But let's start with the big news that Israel has killed the leader of Hamas. Sinwar is now dead. Bibi is basically saying, we're going to finish this up. We got to get the hostages out of there. But this doesn't mean the war is over, not by any means of imagination. Israel has still not retaliated back at Iran yet. Can you just pick it up from there, Mike, and tell us, where's this thing go from here? Am I wrong by saying apocalypse now?
No, Israel's estimate for this current condition would be about another 8 months to 2 years, actually. The reason why they put the number that high is because they will retaliate against Iran. They're not going to drop that. They're going to retaliate against Iran. In fact, they had a meeting with the USA and NATO. They had to give assurances that they would not hit nuclear sites.
Okay.
Now this was a week and a half ago, about a week and a half ago. So they've already done that. The U.S. has sent, you could say, regulators, I guess you could say, over there, and there are certain assurances, and the reason why is because they know if a nuclear facility is hit, Russia will not hesitate to retaliate.
Right.
They won't hesitate. So it's a very right now is when things really escalate. If you think this Hamas incursion and the Hezbollah incursion was a heightening of activities, well, it was not. Now we're about to see the scary part of a war, of a real war. Yeah.
Is it because okay? So we know Bibi is pretty well, he's going to mop up now the remnants of Hamas and take full control of the Gaza Strip. He's knocked out the top 13 commanders and leaders of Hezbollah, but of course, he said he's got to take back southern Lebanon and secure that. So when you say that it's not over, I guess that means there's going to be some kind of retaliation to Iran. It won't be the nuclear facilities, like you said, but are they still thinking maybe regime change with Iran?
They have quite a few things, and did you hear that loud ring?
I did.
Okay, they have quite a few things in motion right now, and one of the big things is in the retaliation. Everybody has to remember it looks like it could be coming to a close. That's what it looks like. First of all, with Hamas, it is very difficult to tell who Hamas actually is. It's very difficult to tell. That population in Gaza has been dispersed all over the place. You have a lot of these Hamas soldiers have been 13 years old, 12, 13, so on and so forth. The people of Gaza are so full of malice concerning Israel that everybody's ready to pick up a weapon. That's number one. So there is this Hamas issue is by no means over. Now they're going to have much more fierce people because those people lost in their eyes. They see Israel as this entity who has killed everybody in their families. They have seen their families suffer. They don't know. It's almost like an abusive person in a home, right? They abuse the family. The family members see that abuse, but the outside world does not see the abuse, right? And so in Gaza, these folks, all they know is that Israel has destroyed their family, was ruthless in their assaults against their own people. That's all they know. They don't know the story. They don't know the narrative. They don't know the history. All they see is Israel as a monster.
Yeah.
Same thing with those in Lebanon. Same thing. So now we're about to have we have those people who, by those activities that began to take place on October 7th, uh, they are they would rather die than to allow Israel to continue. So now you have a brand new type enemy out there, right? A brand new type enemy,
Right.
and they are, believe me, it's going to cause some issues. Now we have the Iranian question. Uh, when they strike Iran, the world is going to say it was an overreach. This is when we get to see the world turn on Israel. Because to hit Iran means you have to hit strategic targets, right?
Yes.
Now, they said they're only going to go after leadership. Here's the problem with that. You know, and I know that they're going to announce to the world that Israel hit civilian centers,
Yes. They're going to
that
say
Israel
that.
did this, that, and the other. And the world, it continues to hear this. Now, it worked with the Palestinians. It worked. The world believed a big lie. All people had to do was see the people, uh, some of the footage that they were
Right.
trying desperately to
Right.
take off the internet, where actors would go and lay down real quick, right? Hamas had an iron grip on the people, and lots of actors were involved.
Yes.
So Iran is very good at doing the same thing. You still have the Houthis. Um, you still have you have quite a few groups out there that are so dispersed. When they begin to hit Iran, the world's going to call foul on Israel. They will ultimately be disarmed. Period. It looks like they're going to win. Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to stop until he has a secure nation. He understands that in order for Israel to be secure, he has to get rid of the big guy, the guy who's paying for all these terrorist organizations, and to collapse some of that support chain, right? But
Yeah.
here's the issue: to do that to Iran, to take out their leadership, means to dissolve, right? Their some of the high-ranking personnel that deal directly with Russia.
Yes.
So,
Because
in other words, Israel cannot take out the leadership of Iran without destroying the relationship between Iran and Russia. And by the way, some of the folks in Iran are Russian generals, Russian
wow.
politicians, right? So this is going to be tricky, and we all know what the world what's going to happen. Uh, this is going to turn into this is a power cave. It's going to turn
So
into a
so
bigger situation.
so in other words, this year is really kind of a warm up to what's really coming. I mean, because Israel is I think determined to take the Ayatollah Khomeini. He's the guy responsible. They're looking right at him and saying, "You're the guy, and you are using the resources of your nation to fund all this terrorism toward us, the Houthis, the Hezbollahs, the Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, the Syrians, and everybody else." And so you got to know that Bibi is looking straight at it and says, "You know what? We got to," and that's so big because, as you're saying, if you go after the Ayatollah Allah Khomeini, the whole Islamic world will go up in flames and rage. Am I wrong by that? I mean, Turkey's already itching to get in. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think some of the financial support. Listen, $1 trillion came from Iran and was dispersed throughout the Middle East. I'm sorry, it was $3.2 trillion.
Wow.
Okay, that happened in less than probably a 2-month period. They're about to do it again.
That's
Now,
what?
somebody's lying, somebody's hiding the true facts about who has money and where, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't say anything about you look at some of these Middle Eastern places, and you start to see these projects where, $800 billion is spent to lay a foundation in the middle of the desert, $900 billion on this irrigation system, and then another $1.1 trillion to reborder some of the nations that are in the Middle East. And then you find out that Iran is making a lot of money, right? Things start tracing down. It's a big financial mess. There are lots of lies involved, lots of propaganda. So it's very difficult to capture the truth of the Middle East by anybody's news. But Iran has a lot of money. They have a lot of resources, more resources than than what the public knows, because we hear, in the West, all they're going to hear is filtered propaganda. They're not going to hear anything in favor of Iran. So they're doing all this. If Israel attacks Iran, then every country who is surviving or thriving by Iran is going to turn against Israel. And I'm telling you right now, there are lots of nations who have indignation against Israel. They have a deep-rooted hatred. They do not believe Israel is the rightful, folks of that land.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to come. That's already coming up. It's coming up in chatter. In fact, some of the fighting is in the name of a holy war already, right?
Yes.
Russia is naturally going to be pulled in. If they attack Iran, Russia's already going to be a part of it. I think that's made obvious by Putin's intervention by statements saying, you got to watch, you can't attack their nuclear sites.
What about
he
the
also
oil?
expanded that.
Okay.
He already said the oil. He said you can't touch the oil.
Wow.
Then he added some more. You can't touch, so he's going to continue to do this. And he's quite serious. He's ready to act. He's ready to act. So because you're having some of the Asian forces who will engage the Ukraine, right?
Right.
They're going to engage Ukraine, and some of the Islamic forces from Syria will engage with the Korean forces against the Ukraine, while Putin concentrates on this Middle Eastern the expansion of war. And China is going to make the move right in the middle of it because they're becoming a financier of the whole thing. They have, somebody's lying big time. And as I said before, bluffs are going to be called. Bluffs are going to be called. People are going to finally find out who is who, and they're not going to like what the results are, right? When all this becomes disclosed, they're going to feel betrayed. They're going to feel, backstabbed. Is lots of betrayal is coming.
How do you?
And these lies, when they come out, it's going to cause people to rethink their entire view of global politics and everything else.
Does this election, Mike? I mean, how big is this as it relates to this geopolitical, the whole Middle East and the Ukraine and Russia war? Does it matter which one of these people are in position? Or
yes, it does. Even right now, right? Everybody knows that based on who would become the U.S. president, they're going to have to make strategic moves right now before that ever happens. If Trump gets into power, if they feel that Trump is winning, I'm telling you right now, these Middle Eastern countries are going to go for broke and do everything they can do to position themselves, because they understand that Trump is he's a business guy, but he's also quite stern, right? And he does not deviate.
No,
once he sets his mind on something, he won't deviate. They understand that. That's the one thing they can never contend against. And so he has no soft spots either, right?
No.
So they understand that too. If they feel he's going to win this election, they're going to have to escalate all their plans to make sure that they happen before he gets into office. They're going to have to do this.
So from November 5th till January 20th in the swearing in of the next president, even if we know that, let's say Trump wins the election, now you got to go through the process, the transition process. there's going to be some things that happen. Do you think in that 60 days it's just could be on the brink of World War III? I mean,
Yeah, I think we are right now, more than what people realize. Right now, we're in the brink of World War. Well, I would say the World War III has already started.
yeah,
It's just that it's not hit our front door yet. See, this time America's not going to be, left alone in this. That's not going to happen. We have targets on our East Coast. We have targets in the Midwest. We have targets on the West Coast, but more on the East Coast than anywhere else, right? Um, we are known as the greatest defense in this holy war that they're having. This is what they're actively talking about. America, listen, they're saying that America has to be on fire for them to successfully take out Israel.
yeah.
We have to be on fire. America has to be burning. Can they make that happen? Yes, they can. Have they been working at this? Yes, they have, nonstop. And believe me, all agencies are quite aware of this. It is the paranoia is off the scale.
And so, if Harris wins, what does that mean? How does the world react to that?
Normally, I don't take sides, right?
I know.
Normally, I don't take
I'm
sides.
just saying,
But I'm saying something here that I tell you, in my opinion, when somebody changes their opinion about things to just to gain ground in the
yeah,
minds of people,
yeah,
that's no good. And in my opinion, Harris has she won't answer the simple things. She just won't do that. The rest of the world sees this. They also see that she'll change um, to be advanced. That's no good either, right?
no,
Because when a person stands for their own position, like hers, she had some positions she stood for a long time ago, and people just want to know the contrast between her then and now. All she has to do is say, I changed my mind, just like J.D. Vance did, just like Trump did. And people may not like these folks, right? They may not like them, but they are who they are. And that's who
right,
we have to elect from.
right.
But the Middle Eastern faction will not respect a woman, period. They're not going to do it.
No, they
To have
won't.
a woman sit as president is an automatic, but that's an automatic offense to the entirety of the Middle East. It's just not going to bode very well. They're not going to listen to a female. Period. They're just not going
They're
to do
not.
it.
I know.
They don't respect that. It infuriates them. It does, especially in Saudi Arabia. And unfortunately, we need. We can't do it alone.
No,
Unless we exhaust our military, we need some sort of cooperation between these certain people in these places. If a woman gets into power, any woman, it doesn't matter who, any
right,
woman gets into
right.
power, these Middle Eastern nations are not going to recognize that authority over them. They're not going to do it. And more people they're going to start. When I tell you what, Fastball, when the missiles fly, and if U.S. soil is hit, that's going to make it real. That's going to make it
Oh
real.
yeah, it'd
And
be
people are going to
shocking.
stand up and say, oh, no, no. They're going to say, no, we can't have this. We can't do this. We just simply can't do this. There are more and more people now who are becoming well versed in geopolitics, and they're starting to find out that this situation is not going to work out too well, right?
This is
And
huge. What
so,
you're saying, Mike. You're dropping
yeah,
bombs tonight. I mean,
well, they're
you're
starting to find it out.
yeah. I mean, people are starting to feel it and feel the pressure, aren't they? Is that why? Again, it's so hard to believe. You can't believe the media and the polls and all that, but
No, you
you
cannot.
can almost step outside and put your finger in the air, and you can feel this shift taking
You do,
place toward
and you
Trump.
know what? Yeah, and I'm a neutral guy. I
Right.
mean, I have my pick, but I
Sure.
never want to sway the opinion of anybody else, and so I take this neutral stance. I think it's important for me to do that, so people can do what the Lord instructs them to do.
Right.
But Pastor Paul, there is something brewing that is well,
Well, the deal.
it's it really affects the entire world this time.
This
And sometimes all times are not convenient for all choices. They're just not.
I've
They're
got
not.
some information, and I've been very reluctant. I've had it for a while, and I've been very reluctant to even bring it up, and maybe I shouldn't bring it up, but I did get an email that something that's circulating out there from the DOD, and of course this could be just clickbait, but it's as if there is this very high level of concern of some type of rioting or
There is.
revolution if things don't go the way.
There is.
Is this a real deal? And
That's a real deal.
and I'm hearing there's standing orders.
That's a real deal.
Orders for the military to actually act upon American people. Is that part of this?
We have with information comes a lot of counter information.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
And so, but I'll tell you something. Since the beginning of this election, when Biden announced to everybody, he said, this is serious, right? And this is dangerous. That's what Biden said. He kept saying that.
Yep.
Then policies came out, right? And it gave command authority to a different entity to do a different thing within the USA. Is when you knew it was real. When policy comes out to give command authority, when that command authority changes or is expanded to deal with a new situation, then it's already in stone. So they have a reaction plan and a containment plan, right?
Yep.
And they may have to put things in because militias are rising, right?
Right.
This is happening now. And I hate to say this, but militias are rising, and there's already been some incursions between the government and these militias. It's already happened. Folks have already died from this, and so it's a serious thing. They're just not gonna put that out there yet.
This week, when Trump mentioned the enemy from within,
he's talking about politicians.
He is, isn't he? He's talking about the governing politician level.
Yeah, these dug-in politicians who continue to involve themselves in government. Some people have nothing to do with the government, yet they always seem to alter government opinions, and they have stooges in there, right? Some of these billionaires do that. Billionaires have lobbyists who go in there, they attach themselves as senators, and you can't separate the two unless they enforce a policy by the military or put Washington on lockdown. I know I would certainly do it. I'd lock them all right there in Congress, and nobody else would affect anything from that point on, right?
Right.
Just to keep the lobbyists out, because what's happening is you have America's ruled by corporate ideology right now.
Right. You're right.
Nobody, this isn't the government is not. They're certainly not ruling based on care. That's not what they're ruling from.
No.
They're not ruling based on care.
Or the will and the needs of the people. That's not a priority.
Well, let's face it. The institution itself has become a severe abomination. Now look at the laws they pass. Our Father in heaven would not approve of what they're doing in Washington. That stuff is an abomination. And they're when they start changing the minds of a 6-year-old, that is absolutely disgusting.
Right.
It is. Yep. It was an abomination to the Father in the beginning. It is right now. And they're doing nothing more than expanding these abominable things.
Wow.
So change is coming quickly, and everything is a witness to that change.
Amen.
I can tell you now, Satan hates it. He hates it with a passion.
Yep.
He does.
All right. Now, Mike, we've got some other areas to talk about. Here, I'm going to show you a picture, Mike. You can see it. I'm sure you got a little delay, but you'll see it. This picture was sent to me from BP Earthwatch. This is the skies in Mexico. Red. I mean, that is in Mexico. So what in the world's going on? I mean, these auroras tonight are going to be pretty spectacular. They have been for the last couple weeks. I was talking to Bishop Larry Ragland. I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and just 3 or 4 days before I got there came this incredible auroras all the way down to Birmingham, and he took pictures with his iPhone from his deck on the back of his house, and it was some of the most spectacular things I've ever seen in my life. The colors were brilliant. It's amazing. And look at the sky behind me, Mike. That's Mexico. How in the world? What's going on?
That makes my stomach drop. I'll tell you why. Long time ago, right? I saw this whole scene before. The whole thing. People were taking pictures at sunset, and they did not understand what that meant. You know, scientifically, this is what people are saying is collision and excitation. It's when solar particles collide with atoms in the Earth's atmosphere, oxygen and nitrogen. And when they collide, they emit, these different gases emit different wavelengths of color, and that depends on the, molecule involved. The energy difference is the excitation, which causes these colors. For example, oxygen, right? It emits a green or brownish red light, and variations in between. Ionized nitrogen emits blue or purple to red light, right? So a lot of what you see, what I see in that picture is actually nitrogen. Now remember, 70%, a large percentage of the air we breathe is nitrogen. And when solar winds hit those molecules and they're ionized, they cause that color.
Really?
That's the bad news. That's the bad news, though. Solar winds should not be hitting, right?
No, they shouldn't be hitting
the atmosphere like that. And so that indicates we have some issues in our protective layer. It's not protecting us too well, because when people start seeing this all over the earth, I hope they understand that's radiation just leaking in, and it's just coming in all over the place.
It's beautiful, it's spectacular, but it's deadly. Is that what you're saying? I mean,
it's a deadly indicator. It's a deadly indicator that we are in trouble, because, listen, we're soon to go into a chaotic, our magnetosphere is going to turn chaotic. When it's chaotic, it's going to be holes all throughout the magnetosphere. It will not be organized. Magnetic field lines of force are going to be going all over the place. That means radiation will drip down to the surface. It means that the chemical composition of some items on Earth are going to instantly change. It means some of that collision excitation will be no more than 10 feet from the ground. It means that people are going to be sickened in a few areas, and it also means fires, right? High heat. This is going to build up, get stuck in the atmosphere. When that happens in the atmosphere, as it did in 2004, it gets stuck within the region of the Earth, heating up everything, right?
So
it gets stuck below the atmosphere. It doesn't escape too well.
When you say fires, I mean, are fires just going to break out worse than the wildfires we've been seeing?
Because you're looking at, imagine a day where you have 60% humidity, right?
Okay.
All of a sudden you have a chaotic ionosphere. Then your humidity, because of those holes, that radiation is going to drop pretty low to the surface. So it'll go from 60% to 2%.
That's real dry. Man, that's real
there
dry.
There you go.
That could ignite.
That's right. From just a car driving down the street, something can ignite at 2% humidity. So that's what you're looking at also.
What?
Pressure changes is going to cause a lot of steam on the coastlines, right? So you're looking at a real change in our, in the entire biosphere, right? And we're getting, it's just not going to be good.
Okay, now that isn't part of the ash environment that you talk about, is it? I mean, that's a different reason, right? I mean, volcanoes or...
Yeah, that'll be volcanoes. The ash, I'm sure the fires are going to contribute, right?
Okay.
Because we saw that with Australia, and what was that? 2000 and the big fires they had where the whole country was on fire.
17 or 18.
Ash was falling all throughout the USA. People would wake up with black ash on their cars. They didn't know where it came from. They analyzed it. It came from Australia. So we definitely see that again. With all this solar activity also is causing the dormant volcanoes to become that much more active. Under the ocean, there have been at least 8 more regions of volcanic activity that have just lit up in the last week. And so the waters are going to heat up also, even more than they have been, right? So Earth is certainly changing. Isn't it ironic that the Earth is changing, and so is mankind as far as their morals?
Yes.
It's just getting rough.
It's a parallel. There's a parallel consideration.
Absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
animals are going nuts. I mean,
Yes, they are.
I'm just telling about how there's a leopard
Yes,
in
they are.
India that's now killed 8 people. This one leopard, and it has a thirst for blood. And there's other animals doing
And
weird things.
crows.
Crows,
Crows have been
crows,
attacking. Yeah, they've been attacking people in the Appalachian chain. Crows have
really,
been attacking, and
crows.
crows are the most intelligent bird on the planet. They
Okay,
can mimic your voice, my voice. They can do anything we can do just about, but they're starting to attack people.
that's crazy.
It's a known fact that if you do anything to a crow, it will go out and teach the other birds that you are a danger to
No
them.
way.
It will even teach its young people to identify you. And every time you come around, those crows are going to start cutting up, right?
They gang up. They'll
And they
gang
will
up on
go
you.
after you. Yeah, they'll go after you. But they've been doing this to people for people who have had no interaction with crows.
Right.
Now, the knowledge that one crow has can spread throughout all of them, right? So that's not a good situation. Can you
Okay.
imagine a big group of crows that's against human beings?
No, no, Mike, no. I mean, the crows, they're crows. And you're saying the crows, they know who to go after? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
is it,
They had an experiment. They had one guy that harassed a crow in a tree, right? And a bunch of people in the park. The crows were fine. This one guy walked in and they remembered who he was, and all of them went berserk and they went right after him. I mean, right after him. He leaves, they go back to normal. As soon as he comes back in, they start giving that little alarm and they go after him so they can remember faces.
that's
They remember
insane.
your face, your body motions, everything. They are highly intelligent. I mean,
Wow.
highly intelligent.
Wow. Mike, I'm gonna ask another question. This one's been came to us and to Heidi. We're hearing that there's troops, U.S. troops have been deployed into Mexico to fight the cartels. I don't know if these are special ops or what. Is there anything going on here with U.S. troops deployed covertly or quietly or secretly into Mexico to fight?
Better that come out by itself, right? Because it is against, because it's with the cartels, they're saying, right? But
Yes, yes.
um, better for that story to evolve by itself, because you have concurrent operations that take place in Mexico with the USA, right? So anybody in the intelligence field is just simply not going to cover that subject openly like that, because it would just alert too many things.
Well, there's a lot of
It would just,
mayors. I mean, there's been 3 mayors in Mexico killed in the last 7 days. I mean, and I know that happens a
yeah.
lot with these drug cartels, but they're getting, and they're vicious, they're violent, they're beheading people. But you're saying we better let that dog lie?
Yeah, let it come out by itself, because when the governors in the USA begin to announce their declarations or their recommendations concerning the border, that story will come out. Maybe not all of it, but it will. Keep in mind, in Mexico, uh, it was reported that that's where those containers were, full of troops, Chinese troops, right?
yes, that's right.
Mexico, that's where some of the military bridge equipment was, the docking equipment was, where you bring these amphibious vehicles made from China onto the land. So there are lots of things happening in Mexico. Um, it's better to let that story evolve. But I tell you what, that border is a real problem.
It
And it
really
has to
is.
do is I know immigration is a big deal, but that border is a big problem.
We don't have a handle of it, and we America does not have a handle. I don't even think we're in control of it anymore. I think maybe the drug cartels are in charge of it now. I don't know, but it's a big problem. I agree with you, Mike. Last week, Heidi talked to you, and you guys got on the subject of time.
Mhm.
And so there's 2 things. One thing is you made a statement a few weeks ago that you knew the time of the harvest, and you said, "Oh boy, let's talk about that next week." So, and also Heidi thinks we should talk about time anomalies. But Which one? The time of the harvest. When you say you know the time of the harvest, can you help us understand where you're going with that?
Yeah, the time of the harvest,
Of
the
souls, of souls.
harvest of harvest. How about I save that one for the very end of the
Okay,
show?
let's
How
do
about
that.
that one?
What about time
Time of the harvest.
anomalies then? How about time anomalies?
Those are real. Those are real. Those are quite real. Pastor Paul, mankind has been messing with stuff for a long time, right? I mean, a long time. So your audience can get involved with this. Many people out there in your audience, they're called to the Lord, but they also have had experiences when they were small. And some of them have experienced something called fast chatter. I'm going to call it fast chatter,
Okay.
which means when they were small, it was as if they were sitting there doing whatever they were doing. And all of a sudden they started to hear super fast, like people talking real fast around them, right? And it was very faint. It would come in very fast, real fast chatter. Then it would leave. Then it would
Okay.
just go away. But while they were doing this, it was almost like a slight high ring buzzing that they would also hear accompanying that fast chatter, right? That fast chatter, by the way, is real. And what that is perception. It happens to young people a lot because sometimes they just don't think about anything when you're young. You kind of zone out for a minute, right? That's
Right.
exactly what
Just
it
go
happens.
with the flow. Just go with the flow, you know.
Right. A lot of young people, they go through that moment. Now they won't tell you about that fast chatter. Like somebody talking real fast. They can hear it and it builds up, builds up, builds up, and then goes away. All that has to do with perception. Now keep that in mind while I explain this.
Okay.
There's something called hyper time. I'm going to call it hyper time.
Hyper time.
It's when you begin to analyze things and it seems like everything is in slow motion.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Now this you can induce yourself, and some people can do this naturally. And with that, boxers do it a lot. When I was in kickboxing, I used to do that a lot. It used to happen, right? So it feels like everything is in slow motion.
Time dilation. Like. Time dilation. I've had that.
Okay. They do, and just like if a person gets in an accident.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They can remember. Here's the funny part though. They can remember the scratches on their dashboard, pieces of glass. Everything, they can see everything because everything slows down. The truth is, you think fast. That's being hyper-minded. You think fast. Taking that element of time away, what's actually happening, because the brain exerts no energy at all doing this. None. This is what they found out. In fact, your brain is naturally like that. But there's a component that slows your brain down, right? It's just like for runners. A runner can go out in the morning and run, and when they come back, their music sounds slow. And I'm sure that people have gone through this. When they run, they get their music. Everything sounds slower, and then as they calm down, the tones of the music go back to normal. But when they're running and when they first get back and hear the TV, it's like the music is slow, the tones are slow, people are talking in slow motion. It's because they themselves are starting to let go. When you start to let go, you enter into a different phase of thought, a different phase of observation, right? We limit our own time exists for us. I strongly believe that now. Even man has these anti-gravity, for example.
Okay.
Anti-gravity is intimately tied to time. In fact, they don't call it anti-gravity. That's what people call it. That's not what they call it. So time, they try to put philosophy with time so people get all messed up. But in fact, time is just a person observing everything around them at a recognizable speed, you could say. And it's something that human beings do. Outside of the body, right? If a person is unconscious or something like that, their brain starts doing something else.
Okay.
In your dreams, something else happens. You can dream, you can be stuck in a dream for a month, and only 2 minutes would have gone.
Oh, I know.
You can retain all the knowledge of 2 months. Well, you can do that normally also, right? If you can take off the limiters. So which means some people have an innate ability to take off the limiters, right?
Limit.
Limiters, that's right. Stubbornness is tied to our limitation.
Okay.
It's just like faith. Faith is believing, yes, that's part of it, but faith is also accepting. It's just not believing, it's accepting, right?
Yes.
If you believe in something but you don't accept it, the truth is you don't believe it at all.
No, that's right. That's right.
When you accept something, you expect it, right? So it becomes a part of your reality. So then faith itself is that you're expecting it because it's your norm. It becomes your norm. It's not outside your norm. It's not something extra you have to do. It becomes a part of your reality. Time, when it's observed this way, when you need it, when you have to do something like that, you take off the limiters and you begin to go past, these doubts that we have. You know how we stop ourselves at everything and say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's what we say.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We slow ourselves down.
Yeah.
Now, if you take all that away, you just simply observe, right? That's when your observation of time changes. Scientifically, they have messed with this through magnetism and high voltage, right? Which has caused some irreversible accidents, some good, some bad. The Germans, in part of the real society, is where that science came from. The women with the long hair, right?
Yeah.
They actually had craft. They actually had and started to produce a technology that nobody understood, which is why Project Paperclip existed. They bought all that stuff over here, right?
Yep.
But these guys, they were messing around with vortices, electrons, and protons. Same thing they do at CERN. Now, what did that do? Well, they made some items they made steel become translucent, right? They also caused certain objects to show up at our present time that vanished back in that time, yet they existed at that time. They've seen through portholes. Each person will see something differently, right?
Right.
For example, there's a project where a person will look through this hole. That person would see something very unique to them. Everybody who looked through it would see something very unique to them. But this wasn't made up, this was real. But they were seeing in the future. And every time they looked at that hole, it would alter slightly based upon whatever they were looking at.
Is it because
it was almost like they were seeing possibilities, but it was real. It wasn't fake. They took photos, right? And everybody could see similar things, but it was slightly different for each person that looked in it. And they were actually seeing something else, almost like they were seeing into another dimension.
Yeah.
Right?
Is it because is it because they're blocking everything else out?
No. This they did this scientifically. This was a device they actually were playing with.
Okay.
Right. That device, by rumor, ended up killing about 800 people.
No.
Because it was essentially a collider, a particle collider. Right.
CERN.
That's what essentially did it. And it wasn't like CERN itself. In the middle of CERN, right? Not the acceleration tube, not the collision container.
Yeah.
But in the center of that experiment, where they don't list anything, you see these rings. In the center of those rings, offset to the bottom right. In this little device, that's where it was, offset to the bottom right. CERN is set up just like that little device. And in that bottom right, they would see a suggestive future, different to each person that looked at it, right? So they can actually peer into different things. Now, this set up CERN, they did peer into different dimensions already. Some scientists have been put in the cuckoo house. They won't let them out of
after they
pending some psychological review. Some people
they're looking into different dimensions, and
because a lot of people can't. If you looked into a glass and you saw your family 10 years older than what they were, you saw your little girl totally grown up, or you saw something like that, some people can't take that.
No,
because it's the way it's described is not looking like, it doesn't look like a TV screen. It looks like more like you stuck your head out of a real window looking into a real space, and you see things that are just, you shouldn't be seeing them. That's how it's described. It's not
Yeah.
look. It does not look like a
That's
video
like a
screen.
time
It looks
machine.
more like a window,
Is it
and
like
you
a?
poke your head in there.
It's like you're traveling. You can see into time, or you're traveling in a time machine, or you're just able to look
You can
in
see into the
the
future.
future. Okay.
You can see into the future. Now, if they had perfected anything like this, but if the dynamics of it, who knows? But if they did something like this, do you not realize how they could manipulate everything they wanted to manipulate? Can you imagine
Oh yeah.
what they no one would have a chance. No one
No.
would have a
No.
chance. So yeah, that anyway, that was one of those.
That's.
Somebody says or the past. No, it was only the future, never the past. They never looked into
Oh,
the
they never
past,
look
only the
back at the
future.
past. It's always
No,
the future.
always the future.
So it's kind
Yeah,
of prophetic in a way. I mean,
always the
always looking
future.
ahead, always looking into the future, but actually seeing something
Yeah.
taking place before it actually takes place.
Like for example, there's something that was found as they dug into the ground, and I hope that certain OSI members back at the time come forward to say something about it. But only a person with certain type DNA can get through it. It's a library that was here on
Wow.
this earth. And you sit in this little chamber. Once you go past first chamber, you sit in the second chamber. And it has access to everything. It's kind of like our computers today, right? Except it has no interface. No interface that you
I
can
see.
touch or anything. It's like a mental interface. The same junk that Elon Musk is working on right now, which comes out in November, by the way, right? Some of the mind reading chips, which come out November 2024. Those things, the BCI devices, where you have certain states now, they got to pass laws this month in October against what comes out in November.
It's coming out in
Like
November?
devices like those. Yeah, November 2024. Certain devices that allow one person to talk to another one mentally. Those devices,
What?
that can read the thoughts of another person. And so they don't want police officers reading thoughts of people. And so certain states are passing laws where they cannot do this. Right. All this has to happen before November 2024. Yeah. So they're debating those laws, getting those laws together now in October 2024 because
It's
those
just a month
devices are real
away.
and coming out.
Yeah. It's
Right.
just a month
Right.
away. All right.
So
That's
anyway,
that is going to be that's going to mess things. I don't. Okay, I'm going to wait till I try to even comprehend that. What
so
about?
back to the
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, back to this library piece. If that was similar to what they were doing with this little device they had, looking into the future, except this library would allow you to see everything that happened here on the earth. That's where this story, there's a story out there. There's a set of stories out there where people said they have seen the real Christ in the past, right?
Yeah.
That's where that story comes from. That's like a rumor from a rumor from a rumor of something real. Now they have OSI people who will come forward and tell the world about this in time. They will, just like they're disclosing UFO stuff. You cannot disclose the UFO topic without telling about time. And it just so happens that there are certain people who are, I guess you could say, they're in tune uh, with all this. That's like me. It's funny when people talk about time because I don't really perceive time that well. I
No,
don't.
Heidi don't either.
And I can't wear a watch. I don't change the time on computers because guess what? I never allow a phone to be near me. I can't have a phone near me for other reasons. But I don't perceive time that well. Like what's new to me last year is new today, right? It's very new. So nobody gets old to me. How about that? That's funny. It's almost like nothing gets boring.
I
Nothing
see.
gets,
I see. Everything
something
is
like that.
brand new. Every day's a new day.
Yeah.
Every day's a
Yeah.
new day with Mike around the world, right? I mean, every day's a new day.
It is.
Maybe we need more of that. I mean, all of us could probably use that.
But some people, now the other part of this is this: some people in certain areas were exposed to certain things here in the USA and in Germany and I believe parts of the UK. It just so happens that if a person was born in those areas, certain areas, they're going to have these residual effects that take place in the brain, which frankly nobody can understand. Which means they will have a real effect on physical. principles, right? Just like a person, there are people right now who can walk under street lights, and those street lights will blow out. If they're halogen lights, they will blow out every single time. There are folks who, if they get irritated in their homes, all their light bulbs will blow out. All of them will blow out.
Wow.
LEDs will start blinking and everything else. This is part of what's naturally in them, right? And your body can produce electrically. Your body can produce enough voltage to kill somebody else in a fraction of a second.
That's
Think
amazing.
about that.
That's amazing.
So if a person has had, and it really takes a person who has had super high states of emotion and super low states of emotion. Those people, right, have been very close to something they don't even know of. And emotion itself is the key that unlocks that ability to affect things around them. Emotion is. It is the key. Now I'm just overreaching, but I can almost guarantee that folks, if anybody is like Heidi, they safeguard their emotions, almost like it's an emergency. It's a real critical issue that they safeguard their emotions, which means they're holding back. They have to suppress their emotions more than the average person.
Really? Heidi's
Now, it could be overreach. It could be overreach,
no,
but I'm just saying by observation.
I don't think you're overreaching. Have the ability
that could be
to,
part of that deal.
You know, Heidi is a brilliant, here we are talking about Heidi, but brilliant mind where she can be thinking about like 10 different things at once and actually be causing those things to be moving at the same time, and yet never lose track of any of those things. You know what I'm saying, Mike? I mean, beyond ability to do few things, I'm talking about 10 to 15 different things at once without even really showing any emotion. And you don't know if she's stressed out about this or not, or is she, so for me, you know, for us simple people, you know, one thing at a time, Mike. I mean, I just slow down and get that right. But you're saying that people who have the ability to do this with exceptional brains also can control the emotional part of themselves, because if they don't,
well, they have a higher emotional state. They end up having to suppress their emotion. It's kind of like everybody has a natural innate ability to sense everybody around them, right? But they don't know it.
Yeah,
Here's
I agree with that.
Case.
Yes.
Something simple, point in case. If somebody's staring at you, you will turn around and look at them.
Absolutely. Now,
normal people don't really observe that to find out what that is, but they know what that is, right? They know that's from the brain. They also know some other things, and emotions are a big part of that. When anybody goes through trauma, for example, every time you have a heightened state of emotions, your level goes up and it never goes back down again. So the worse traumatic time you go through, the higher the state of emotions that have gone through your body. That's like pure energy, right? And it never goes back down again. So you get, the greater the trauma, the higher the level. Now, these people, when they go through those high level states, they actually release things themselves. They do things themselves. They also have a strong influence on other people, and they can also sense other people, right? Because the more emotion that flows through you, the higher the level of I guess you could say, a power that can flow through you, right?
Right.
So whether it be traumatic, whether it be, in the other spectrum, is still your body never goes down from being exposed to a high state of emotion. So anybody who's about to die, who's gone through that scary time, they have their level has gone way up there. And as it goes way up there, let's just say that your body is always in balance. The more it can hold, it's going to hold, right?
Now, when a person has this ability, can we control our dreams to some degree? Do you ever get in a dream where you actually start debating and like trying to control the dream? Can we do that?
You can. Yeah, you can. You can.
Yeah, I think I have done that several times. I mean, just like,
I guarantee a lot of your people, they fly in their dreams, which means something, by the way, but they fly. But, well, put it this way, in the beginning, when people have scary dreams, they're trying to run away and it feels like your feet are in peanut butter or something, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it. But the moment you look back, you no longer have dreams like that, right? as you get older, you're more of an observer in your dreams
Oh, you're almost
than
like a
anything
third
else.
person. You're like a
Yeah.
third person. You're watching. You might even be watching yourself and others, but you're
Yeah.
like in
You're an
another.
observer.
Yeah. That must be. I'm
And
getting old
yeah,
then, because I see that a lot of times.
yeah.
Sometimes it
You
just
also have genetic memories. Genetic memories
what?
can come through your dreams, which means suppose you have a dream and you're somebody else,
Oh
but you
yeah,
know the people around you, but you never met them before. That's a
that's
genetic a dream. So
yeah.
think of a dream where you somehow genetically recall some genetic memory or instinct of your great 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 grandfather.
Hmm.
Right? That
Okay.
happens
Is
sometimes.
that is it
That
because
happens
is it because
sometimes.
it's coming through the DNA,
Yeah.
to the
Yep. Yep.
genetically?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Just like the instincts of an animal, so do we have memories. We have memories in the instruction of our bodies. We have memories in these bodies. So biologically, you could have memories going all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make a confession. You ready for this, Mike? And tell me if I'm nuts,
Go
if I'm
ahead.
crazy. There's 10,000 people here, or whatever there is. I don't know why I would do this, but here I go. And I know somebody's gonna say I don't believe a word of it, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. I remember before I was born, flying through space, seeing stars, planets, flying, and I was flying toward Earth, and then on my way to be born. Then it goes, then things go blank, and then I start remembering when I'm about 3 or 4 years old. But I remember flying before my birth. Am I
Well,
the
no,
only?
that's it. No. You're not by yourself in that either. You're not.
Okay,
Um,
I remember
some
it.
people, some people have actual, uh, um, like me. I remember when before I could walk. I remember every conversation, everything. Right. I don't remember being born, but some people remember being in the womb. They do.
I say
They
that's
remember
probably
what they were.
possible. Yeah.
They remember, and some people remember things before that. Now, why is so funny when you say flying through the stars, right?
Yes.
Because why would a bunch of people remember that same thing?
I don't
That don't
know.
know that don't know each other. These are not people looking for fame or anything,
No, I've
right?
never said this
These
publicly
these are right.
ever, because I
You
was a
have, and some people remember a road. Now, nobody wrote this down, but I can guarantee some of your listeners have this. I didn't read this from a book. I just know this. There's a
okay.
road that some people have found themselves walking on.
Yeah.
And from this road, they could see people and houses. And from there, they would choose their family. That's where that ideology comes from. Are people choosing their families? If you look at some of the books that people have written, they have dreamt about these things or had experiences with these things, and they believe that's the way it works, right?
Wow.
And so reincarnation, that's
Right.
that's genetic memory.
Yeah.
It's not really
It's not
reincarnation,
really
it's genetic
reincarnation.
memory. No,
So,
it's
so when
genetic
I was
memory.
flying through space, coming, was that my soul? I'm.
But you exist. We all of us existed intact before we ever came to Earth in the first place.
Yeah, we
I'm,
were
and, and
because we're a soul. We're a living soul, right? I mean,
right, which means the thing we just weren't individuals, right?
yeah,
So this experience in life is really doing what we really do. But we all came from that source. We all came from the living God, but
it's
we
true.
just were not individuals,
I
right?
get it.
I
I
like
get
I
it.
like I like this one thing that in life you can. The Lord says, "I place before you darkness and light." So in life, we always find ourselves. Everything is a choice we have to choose from.
Yeah,
It
it's
never
true.
fails. We have to choose from the just way or the unjust way, and everything that we do, it never ever fails. But anybody from the light, I know this about them, even the most rotten people that I've ever seen, Pastor Paul, when they find out that whatever they're doing is sin, they
Yeah,
want nothing to do with it. That's the righteous.
that is
When a
righteous.
person finds out something is sin, they want nothing to do with it. And they say,
No,
nope, that's it for me. I'm done with this. When they find the impact of it, a promise that Jesus gave.
I'm
And
gonna
I love that
I'm
fact.
gonna read this scripture. Here's Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Before I formed thee in
Yeah.
the belly, I knew thee. So in other
Yeah.
words, I was already created,
Yep.
and I was a soul waiting to be put into a body. And God had already created me, and He was already creating the body I was going to go into, and He ordained me to be. In other words, what I'm saying is, every person is created by God, made a living soul, and God has a divine plan for every
He does.
person if
He
they'll
does.
just follow it.
He does. You know what, Pastor Paul, you can call me crazy on this one, but
Okay.
I saw the reason why we're here. I saw it, and I wrote it's a booklet about it. It's held. It's not published yet. It's just being held. Uh, it's protected and all that. But I saw the reason we're here. It is so incredibly simple. And then through experiences, it was back because one time in an experience, I saw this woman cry. She had lost her kids, and she was blaming everybody for everything that went wrong. And I remember feeling just you can only perceive truth. And I said, why? I said, don't waste your time crying on this. This is not the reason you're. This has nothing to do with why you're here. Of course, that person couldn't hear me, but I could see when I backed off. I saw millions of people doing this, blaming something for everything that happened in their lives, and that's not the reason they're here.
That's very good.
But I saw it, and I searched the Bible to see if it was. It's amazing.
Mike, you still with me? Mike, where'd you go? Did we get into the unknown here? Mike from around the world? Mike, are you out there? We've lost him. But he's going to tell me the time of the harvest. Wait. Mike, come back. No. Mike, come back. Come back. Did the TSA or did the
Your call has been forwarded.
Oh no. So that might be all. Mike was going to explain the time of the harvest, but let's give him just a couple seconds. Aha. Are you back?
What happened?
I don't know.
Boy.
I don't know if we went somewhere we're not supposed to go. Can we go to the time of the harvest? Because we're running.
Yeah, let's go to the time of the harvest. Okay,
Okay.
Here it is. Here's the big one, right?
Okay.
Here it is. We know, Pastor Paul, you report every single day how wicked things are getting in the world, right? How bad things are getting.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, I hear comments every day. People say they're ready to go home. This world is dark, this, that, and the other. I'm going to read this one thing. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get ye down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for the wickedness is great.
Revelation, I think it's 14, but I'm not sure. I have to grab it.
There, in 3 places. That one right there was you can find that Revelation, but this was in Joel 3.
Okay.
The other one's in a Psalm, and one is in a proverb where the wickedness marks the harvest. So we know that we report every single day how bad this world is getting. It's not getting better; it's getting worse.
That's
we
true.
hope for a better world, but it's getting worse.
Yes.
When wickedness is at its height, I believe in the Proverbs it says the brutish man does not understand, but when the wickedness flourishes in the earth like grass, it is because it's going to be destroyed forever. So then the wickedness, the level of wickedness, marks the timing of the harvest.
Okay.
And we live in a very wicked world.
Which means we're close to the harvest.
That's right. Because when the wickedness is great in the earth, the angels are commanded to go and harvest the earth.
Yes, they are. They're told to put the sickle in and go get the harvest. And it's not talking. Right. There's 2 harvests. Like one's the harvest of the righteous, but one is the harvest of the wicked.
This is Joel 3:13. Okay. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get ye down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. And it also tells us something, that this evil that we see on earth is going to build and compound. It will. But we're also sent to this. But there's a scripture, God will never place anything upon us beyond that which we can
Right.
bear. So
Right.
then if we're put this time, number one, we're able to handle everything. Number two, we're not meant to be depressed all the way to the end. We're not meant to be,
No.
smashed up and defeated people all the way to the end. We're meant to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ. The gospel means good news of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
If you carry good news, you don't do so with a frown. You do so with sobriety and with strength and with
Amen.
hope, but not with a frown. So it means that it's almost like an element wants people grumpy at this time, right?
Yeah,
It
but
wants them in this militant mode. No, we have a hope that the world does not have, and that contrast is becoming quite clear now because the world is hopeless. But we have a hope. We have the gospel. The gospel is that good news. The good news is that we have been washed from everything that would have separated us from the living God. It's
Amen.
been washed away through the blood of the Lamb. The world
Amen.
does not have that message, so they try to live forever. We won't live forever. I got news for everybody. They will be leaving this earth. They're going home.
Yes. Amen.
So they might want to think about that. They're going home. Hey, you know what? A lot of people say, well, the rapture may not be, it doesn't matter about the rapture. You're going home.
You're going home.
Right? You're going home. If we're alive at the time, then the word of God will surely take place. And those who are alive are going to be called up to be with him in the clouds forever. But if we're going home regardless,
Amen.
We're most of us are more than halfway there. So they might want to prepare in truth to get ready to go home, to straighten up every single corner they can straighten up to make sure everything is lined out in their lives, because this is our one-shot deal and they're going home.
Amen.
And that harvest will most certainly, if they can't see that harvest is coming.
Because of the
and
wickedness.
Quickly.
Look how
I mean, quickly.
Yeah.
That's right.
And because
that
we
marks
see
the
it.
harvest.
That's right.
That marks the time.
All right.
That's one of the greatest signs, without even saying it's a sign. The wickedness in the world, something that everybody can see, talk about, and they know it already.
Yeah.
And it's coming quick.
You hear people say all the time, I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe that it's gotten this bad. We must be running out of time. Yeah, it's marking the harvest. Mm-hmm. We're very close. And Absolutely. So you got to make sure that you got your sins washed in the blood, like you said, Mike, and that you're living for God and you are praying and you're trusting God, and you just get ready. Okay. Just get ready, because the harvest is coming.
It's coming.
And we're getting ready to leave this world, and I'm ready.
Yep. It's coming.
Amen.
It's coming.
But not everybody's ready. And that's why we're having this broadcast tonight. This is why we're talking about it, because we are running out of time. The wickedness is getting worse. The Bible says, because iniquity abounds, the love of many will wax cold. I mean, that's today. No doubt about it. Mike, thank you for breaking that down for us. And thank you for tonight. A wonderful show tonight. Some great stuff, great information. I got to go back and listen to it again. That's how good it is. I appreciate you coming on and being with us again tonight, Mike. I really do.
It's always an honor, Pastor Paul. Always an honor.
The honor's mine, and I mean that. God bless you.
All right. God bless.
Bye from the world, folks.